The last rebel of history. So throughout this piece, I found myself trying to determine what was real and what was the subconscious and what was a dream and what was reality. Now, the scar on his face tells me that him being locked up was a reality because that's where he was harmed. But the dream sequence moments are shot in a way that makes him appear like this is his subconscious. This is not his reality. And when he exists in these dream sequences, he's not scarred or as scarred as he is when he wakes up and goes down the stairs, where we see, this is a healing scar, very clearly defined. I think what each of these rebels represent is a cause they stand for. And, they're obviously dressed in a way that's meant to evoke a stylistic aspect of this. I think that the costuming is purposeful and fashion forward for a reason, because there's definitely a rebellious attitude when it comes to fashion and moving fashion forward, which I thought was an undercurrent here. But also, I think more specifically so, the diversity that exists within this and the differences between each of these rebels is because they're meant to represent something specific. And you have rebels without a cause being what came to mind. And so it's like, okay, these rebels have a cause. What is the cause? And in the ending, where each person of the crew describes what they stand for, what their cause is, I think it's just a great way to tie it all together, the inner meaning of this.
All right, I just finished watching The Last Rebel of History. This was a piece I ended up enjoying. It had a really sort of ruminative sense of self, identity, and a reflection of sort of the journey of the artist that I thought really worked well without a narrative construct around it. There was a very sleek editing approach throughout the entire piece that I thought worked really well, and just a good sense of cinematography and sort of a timing when it came to constructing the suspense as we build up to the lead character's traveling from his first location to the car to the sort of broken down environmental area to eventually our closing location. I thought that each of those sequences moved with a level of pace that I thought had a good sense of timing that contributed to the mood of the piece and allows you to sort of embrace the very meditative approach at the core of it. And I thought that the ending with everyone turning to the camera sort of reflected that thematic approach and idea, and the closing ideas about what it meant to be an artist and what it meant to be yourself. So I thought it was a strong piece. It worked thematically and stylistically for me, and I thought that the editing in particular was very sleek and really worked well on creating a sense of form and cohesion for the piece, despite the fact that there was, I think, no dialogue and very little top-level narrative cohesion. I thought it worked well still emotionally, given the technical aspects employed. So I thought it was well done overall.
The Last Rebel of History was very heartfelt. You could definitely see the filmmaker's passion for the topic and even in their approach with the visuals.
The Last Rebel of History was very captivating. Um, One of the things that I noticed at first that I really liked about it was it has a very good hook. Uh, just starting with the man waking up, tied up, it immediately has you asking questions as you're watching the short, trying to find out what led to this moment. Um, I feel like it has a very symbolic stance to it, like in the sense of his reasoning for being tied up is not narrative; it's symbolic, and I feel like there are a lot of interpretations that you can make on why he was tied up. The message I got from it was essentially from the end when it asks you what do you stand for. The way I took that is how far are you willing to go for the things that you believe in? Are you willing to be entrapped? Are you willing to get hurt? Are you willing to put yourself in danger uh, in order to fight for those beliefs and values? And I think that's a very strong message because anyone can say that they believe in something or that they'll fight for something, um, but especially depending on the topic, there's always going to be a risk, a threat of danger. and you have to be prepared for anything that comes your way.
The last rebel of history. This is an act towards human rights. What do you think it takes to be the last rebel of history? Because as it stands, we are technically the current and last rebels of our history. We see the community it takes to bring these motions to light. What intrigued me the most were these acts of change, and the models were quoted in this, what seems to be a moment of silence sequence. It's clean, crisp, simple, in black and white. The words on hopes for change take prominence before the credits roll.
I really like the last Rebel of History. You start out immediately, we're in the action. So that's really great. It starts the story. There's not lagging. Since it is a short, you have to get into it so quickly. And immediately the audience is put in the scenario. We're asking questions. We're wondering what's going on. We're looking at this, last rebel and figuring out what his purpose is, what his cause is. And you kind of leave it in the end open. Like, what is your cause? What do you stand for? And I think that's a really poignant, open question that you leave the audience with after watching. And you do it in a really creative way that I really enjoyed. I think it was acted really well. I think it was a really interesting story. It was interesting to watch. I think this character within himself is really symbolic of like the greater good and like what do we stand for as a people, and flipping that at the end and questioning the audience, being like, what do you stand for? I think that's a really interesting way to watch this all come full circle. And overall, it was just like a really enjoyable piece to watch. So very well done.
I really enjoyed this one. I thought it was so interesting. The has a strong start that really gets us invested. Very high tension building sort of sequence. Really just draws us in, and then you just have excellent direction in cinematography. The variation from one shot to the next really creates this just great contrast, and just keeps things visually interesting and keeps us just leaning in and engaged the whole time. Really, really strong that way. It was all edited really thoughtfully too. Just the way, again, they go from one shot to the next. It was just a lot of attention was paid to that, and it's appreciated. It was great. And I thought the added touch at the end of the what I stand for from the talent involved was really strong. Just really helped tied it all together, and just kind of end on this sort of just empowered note that I thought was really effective.